I'd just like to welcome everybody to our, I don't know what number conference this is, but it's our last one of the year. And it'll be the last one that I'll be serving as president, because the term changes again here in January, and we've got a new president already lined up. You can find out who that is, I guess. But I really have been honored to be president of ACCO. I never really thought about it when I started working and didn't figure I'd ever get there. But I did, and I'm really proud to have been able to do it. I'm not a real good spokesperson, but I try to shake it off the nerves a little bit and get through it. But we have a good agenda of people today, but we're going to start out with the invocation as we normally always do.
Would you all join me in prayer? Father, we just come to you today with humble hearts, thanking you for all that are gathered here in this room today. I just pray that you'd bless everyone that's here and the different areas of the state that they come from. I just pray for the decisions that we make as elected officials and the folks that work for us, that we would always turn to you for guidance in those decisions. And God, I just pray that you'd be with our speakers today as they come forward and speak. Please watch over them. God, just please give us good fellowship. And as we enter this holiday season, dear Lord, at Thanksgiving and Christmas, just please help us to always be thankful for the Savior that you've given us through Christ. And as we celebrate Christmas, please help us to always remember, dear Lord, that Christmas is all about Him, the birth of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Just thank you for all that you give us, dear Lord, for it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Join me in the pledge. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jack, you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does I just screwed up, folks. You know, I've always worried about doing that. Where was I?
Our Father who art in heaven.
Thank you. O'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. You know, I had a guy singing that at it. Yeah, I need these now. There you go, Joe Don. I had a guy when I was singing this at college rodeo one time, and he said, you know, it's nice to have the cheat sheet here just in case you need it. I'm never going to forget the words to that. Hello. Thank you all very much, and I apologize.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that messes up. So that's not Jack. You just does a fine job. He just had a senior moment. We'll blame it on that. I'll tell you something I'm really proud of. Our first speaker today is someone that is dear to all the folks around Cherokee County, where I'm from, and then he's from up around Veneta and some of these other counties. But Chuck Hoskins Jr. is our new principal chief of the Cherokee Nation. He is He graduated from OU. He's got, went to the college OU Law School, and he's just a real nice guy and a very good speaker, so I think you'll be impressed. Chief, would you mind to come up and say a few words to us?
What's that? Oh, I was just told now I have to say how great Doug is. But he is a wonderful county commissioner. We think a great deal of him back home in the Cherokee Nation in Cherokee County. And I couldn't help but think about when the gentleman we've not met who lost his place. It says something about this organization and the men and women who serve it, that you all had his back. That's what you do each and every day, including right there. So that's one of the reasons we have so much respect for you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to represent the Cherokee Nation, to be chief of the great and sovereign Cherokee Nation, a nation that has been here before there was a United States, a nation that created a great and strong society before we were removed from our homeland. And I won't take you back through much of that history, but it's a history that is important to know. It's a history that stays with me, and it's a history that helps guide me each and every day. I assure you that in the decisions that I make and the guidance that I try to provide to our nation and the men and women that I get the honor of working with. 180 years ago, thereabouts, the Cherokee people were removed from our homelands. And we were removed because a treaty was imposed on the Cherokee Nation that removed us, the Treaty of New Echota. It has all my life been a source of pain to think about what my ancestors went through. A quarter of our population lost, our economy ripped apart, our government ripped in two, and forcibly removed, the forcible remover of a great people across the country. It is a dark chapter in the history of this country, of which there are so many bright chapters in the history of the United States. That is a dark one. But I do want to share with you what we have done lately that I think, to me, represents a measure of justice for the Cherokee Nation, and I think it's something that, frankly, in 2019, the whole country ought to celebrate, and I think that they are celebrating this as they learn about it. We have reached back into that treaty that removed the Cherokee people, that treaty that was one of the great injustices in the history of this country, and we found a provision that says that the Cherokee Nation shall have a representative in the United States House of Representatives. 180 years later, I have sent Kim Teehee to be that delegate, and she's right here on the front row. I say all that because, frankly, I'm proud to be Cherokee, and I'm proud that there are no expiration dates on that treaty, and we are in a position of strength today in which we can reach back and assert those treaty rights. I also say that because I think it says something about the Cherokee Nation government, that we are a strong people. We are a people of grit and determination. We've overcome a great deal. One lesson, though, that I have learned from history is not just that we are a great people, that we pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps, that against all odds, against so much of the rest of the world thinking that the Cherokee Nation not only might vanish off the face of the earth, but frankly they should vanish off the face of the earth. That's what some folks in this country believed. What I draw from history is that where we have succeeded as a people is when we've had the good sense to reach out to friends and neighbors, to find allegiances, to find ways to work together. That has been true throughout our history. That was true when we were building that great society and we worked with missionaries like the Moravians to try to bring some different kind of education to our people. That was true when we were resisting removal and we reached out to people of good faith all over this country and all over this world to try to tell our story, share our vision of what life should be for the Cherokee people. It was true after removal when we built a great society in what is now northeastern Oklahoma. And ladies and gentlemen, it is true today. And you'd be hard-pressed to find a better example of how we work with our friends and neighbors, how we do things to continue to be what I think is the most dynamic and progressive government in this country. That's the Cherokee Nation. We do it because we have the good sense not to just operate in isolation, not just to think that we are on our own, we can and should do it all, but we have the good sense to reach out to good people of good faith, good public servants, and I can tell you, at the top of that list in Cherokee Nation are the county commissioners representing the 14 counties over our jurisdiction. We appreciate you. And we have done so much together. You can look at statistics and you can see the miles and miles of roads that we have helped pave. You can see the bridges that have been replaced. I can tell you statistics that will show you familiar numbers, which is that when you invest in infrastructure, you create opportunities around the community in which you invest. Immediate opportunities for construction, but long-term opportunities to make a community stronger. But I can also take you and show you places that it's just changed the way people live because we work together to improve things. Things that some people in this country take for granted, like in Delaware County when Whitewater Bridge was out for so long, and I know we have some Delaware County commissioners in the room. Whitewater Bridge out, and I think it added maybe an hour onto a commute that should have taken a lot less than that. Because the Cherokee Nation and the county worked together, we fixed that bridge. Now, to the rest of the world, that is just a speck, not even on the radar screen. But if you are a parent of a school kid that gets on a bus, well, it makes all the difference in the world. If you're trying to get to work and suddenly your commute that was over an hour is back to normal, makes all the difference in the world. If you are an elder and you worry at night, as we all will do when we get on in years, about how in the world an ambulance is going to get to you, folks, it makes all the difference in the world. And so that partnership alone changed people's lives, and it's one example. I can take you to Jay, Oklahoma, where we brought in dollars to improve the infrastructure there, and suddenly a community that, like so many of the small towns across Oklahoma, maybe the rest of the world forgot about it. But the county commissioners didn't forget about it, and the Cherokee Nation didn't forget about that community. We care about it. We care about economic development. We know that it takes resources to do it. We know that you've got to do things like bring in roads and bridges, improve entryways into industrial parks. And suddenly in Jay, there is a spark of hope because there is industry that is growing up there. That's in Jay, a place that, again, like so many communities, the rest of the world may have forgot about it, but Cherokee Nation didn't forget about it because we founded it. We founded it. And we know that we can do these projects best by working together. We know that we can stretch our dollars much further by working together. In just a year or so, in my hometown of Veneta, I can take you to our $30-some-odd million health facility that we built some 8-10 years ago. It is one of the biggest single employers in my hometown of Veneta, about 150 people. A lot of traffic goes over the bridge that goes over the interstate. That thing was wore out when I was a little kid. And it's even worse today as we put so much traffic over it. But what a blessing it is to that part of the world that the Cherokee Nation and the county can work together because we're leveraging federal dollars to a place that couldn't leverage it on its own. That is a success story. That will make the lives of those folks so much better. And those examples play out all over our region and really all over our state because there's other tribes in the state that contribute mightily to the economic well-being of the state, and that includes working with county commissioners to make sure that we do all we can to improve roads and bridges and other parts of infrastructure in our counties. And I just think our relationship is so valuable. I just think it's something we ought to trumpet. I think it's something that everywhere we go, whether it's at the state legislature, whether it's talking to the governor, whether it's talking to people that are interested in economic development, I think when we go in front of those folks, particularly people that might be wanting to do capital investment in Oklahoma, anywhere, I think if we can show up as a team, if we can point to things that we worked on together, I think that gives us an edge over the rest of the country. Forget the rest of the region. What other part of the United States can boast that they have county commissioners working day in and day out with Indian nations to improve the lives of people, to make economic conditions better. What other place in this country could you say that? The answer is nowhere else, because I've traveled to other parts of Indian country, and for different reasons, historic reasons, reasons having to do with isolation, the relationship between the tribes and maybe the county government is not so good, but not so in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, the tribes and the counties are partners, and we get so much done together. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to visit with you, to work with you, because back home, when we need to get something done, we look to the county commissioners for help, and it's a two-way street. You look to us for help, and I'm always glad when we can get those things done together. You know, we've measured our economic impact in the Cherokee Nation. We'll be measuring it again soon. We'll have an event at the Hard Rock. I want to invite you all to come out. But suffice it to say that it's increased exponentially in the last decade. It's doubled, in fact, between 2010 and 2018, from about $1 billion impact to over $2 billion impact. And we know, based on our preliminary figures, that that number is going to increase. It increases because, again, we at Cherokee Nation remember the example of our ancestors, building that great society, working with partners, creating opportunities not just for our people, but all people. And so we're the largest employer, or one of the largest employers in Northeast Oklahoma. We've got an $11 an hour minimum wage. We've got a workforce that is trained and skilled and is moving up and is spending money in the communities, creating economic activity. We're doing things in education, investing. We're doing things in healthcare that's very exciting. And we're doing those fundamental things that everybody in this room knows is important, but a lot of folks in the state and in the country take for granted. The idea that you need safe roads and bridges for the people. You need safe roads and bridges for economic development. We're working on those things too, and we're committed to working with you on new ideas. Now, one thing I want to close with is this. Part of the reason that we have been successful in the last decade is because of a grand bargain that was reached in this state 15 years ago. That is the Gaming Compact. Now, I want to level with you. That Gaming Compact has been a win for the state, and it's been a win for the tribes. The state and the tribes have had opportunities to do things with the revenue brought in by gaming to make our own choices with what we agreed upon 15 years ago. And I can tell you that at Cherokee Nation, and I'm confident that this is true of the other Indian nations, every penny that we realize from gaming, by the way, if you lose at our casino, it's for a good cause. Don't worry. Every penny that we generate through gaming goes back into the economy of Northeast Oklahoma in some form or fashion, every penny, because we're using it for job creation, we're using it for health care, we're using it to improve public schools, we're using it to make sure that people who want to make a living can go to college or get job training, we're using it for roads and bridges, we're using it for all sorts of things that make all of our lives better. Now, I can't account for the choices the state has made during that same time period, but I can do the math. And I think the math looks better on our side than the other side. But I want to say this. If we want to continue to have that win-win situation, if the state and the tribes want to continue to have those opportunities, then the compact needs to renew and it needs to continue. And here's the other thing. As chief of the Cherokee Nation, as much as I believe in partnerships, folks, I'm the chief of the Cherokee Nation, and there is no way that the state of Oklahoma is going to balance its books on the backs of the Cherokee Nation through a lopsided gaming compact. That I can assure you. But it's not just because I'm the chief of the Cherokee Nation that I say that. It's because I've seen what's happened over the last 15 years. I've seen the investments that we've made. I've seen the opportunity that we have had through gaming, and I have seen us leverage those dollars to do what you all want to do. I have seen us get so much done together. I have seen us use every penny wisely. If we want to continue to do that, if we want to continue to be a unique place in this country where tribes and local officials and county officials work together to make the lives of the people better, folks, we need to continue that compact, and we need your help. If you believe in what I believe, and if you have seen what I have seen, during the last 15 years, then we need you to send a message to the governor that the compact is win-win. We need to keep it going because we need to continue to make progress and prosperity in this state as partners, because that's the way Cherokee Nation believes, and I think that's the winning formula. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you a great conference. What an honor it is to be before this group of men and women. What
Chief Hoskins, thank you for coming. I think there's very little doubt in anybody's mind in this room the energy and the intellect that you're bringing to your new office for the Cherokee Nation of Eastern Oklahoma. And I think to reinforce that from a county perspective, is we had our program this morning with the trade advisor for Great Britain. Oklahoma has got a tremendous diversity that we need to celebrate every day. We have 25 different tribal languages that can actually be spoken in the state of Oklahoma. It makes us very unique. It's very energy driven, and we do appreciate the message you brought here this morning. I was reminded by Jack, forgetting the words here, I attended a deal several years ago, and we had an employee that we just surprised him and asked him to give the Pledge of Allegiance like Russell did a while ago. And he was so scared when he got up, the first thing he said, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name." So Jack, at least you owned up to it. But Jack does this for us, has done it probably 10 times out of the last year. And I don't think anybody in the world would want anybody else to do it but Jack. And if this is the only mistake he makes in his lifetime, it was an enjoyable mistake on our behalf. Our first speaker from the legislature today, we've got a pretty full agenda, so we're going to roll pretty quick. We have our Wednesday morning breakfast, and we had some new legislators show up. And this legislator showed up a couple of times, and everybody's going, "Who is that?" Because we hadn't seen her before. Well, we finally found out exactly who she was, and so she's been faithful about coming to our breakfast. We had an opportunity to invite some legislators to an economic strategy vision for China, believe it or not. And we called her and her commissioner, Dave Anderson, and I want to give huge props to him. He got her by the arm and he brought her, and I think they had a wonderful time, and it was a great 2 hours of study from people who really did understand what was going on globally across the world. But our first speaker is Representative Rhonda Baker. She represents Caddo and Canadian counties. She represents District 60. She's extremely important, not only out at the legislature, but at this group. She sits on the Appropriations and Budget Committee at the legislature. She had the grand distinction of teaching middle school as a public school teacher, along with taught higher level classes in college, and her husband are engaged in a private business that's engaged in education. She's an own graduate of UCO of Edmond, Oklahoma, and so for District 60, let's give a warm welcome to Representative Rhonda Baker.
So kind. Thank you all so much for allowing me the opportunity to be here. One thing that I will tell you, when I talk to Gene, well, what am I going to talk about, Gene? This is not usually my wheelhouse. And he said, well, let's talk about your experience at the legislature, what you all have done, just summarize. Well, I will tell you that when he said I'm a middle school teacher, I'll never forget my first day going in, and I was so excited to be sent to the Capitol, and I'm going to my desk on the floor, and one of the sergeants, and our sergeants are absolutely the most wonderful men, he stopped me and he said, "Now, didn't you teach middle school?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Honey, you're going to find out there is no difference here." And I will tell you, That is so true. So I got there, there's 101 seats on the floor, and here I am, I'm fresh out of the classroom, and some of the things that we had battled is, constantly telling the kids, put your cell phones away. Now you need to sit up, pay attention to me, listen. I got on the floor of the House, and I kid you not, I think every legislator had their cell phone out, they're talking, there's speeches going on, and I'm thinking, there's not a one of them that are listening to what is happening. Well, I find out that, you become very good at multitasking up at the Capitol, and I have caught myself, I'm on my cell phone, I'm trying to find out about a bill, and I'm listening to, my desk mate that's presenting a bill, and I'm listening to her while I'm trying to figure out the information I need for a bill that's going to be coming up, in just a bit. So it's very much like middle school. It's hard for people that don't understand the process to come and watch from the gallery because they look down at us and they just think, what are they doing? I think they've lost their mind. But it's a fun place to be, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity I've been given to serve. So as Jean said, I cover Caddo and Canadian counties. I'm very thankful to work with Benny Bowling from Caddo. Jack Stewart is sitting here in the second row. Dave Anderson texted me. He said, I'm going to be late, so I may miss you. And then Mark Hader, my other county commissioner, that is actually in Thailand, I believe. So I will tell you that I'm very thankful to work with a group of gentlemen that I feel like I can just call and I can get a true answer instead of the politically correct answer that we sometimes get, and that's very, very important. So let me go back. I'm fixing to start my fourth session. Let me tell you a little bit about what I have experienced, and then I'm going to talk about the great things that we're looking forward to. My first year going in, we had a $600 million deficit, and when I was sent and when I was knocking doors, I had a lot of people that have said, Oklahoma has struggled. We are like a nation that is a third world country. I mean, we've got roads and bridges that need to be repaired. Our education system is, we've received so many cuts that teachers were fleeing the classroom. We had so many issues. And so when I got up there, I was able to come in with a very large class, and every one of them had heard the same thing. And we knew we had a goal, and that was we wanted to make Oklahoma the state that we loved, that we knew we could aspire to be, but we had to have people that were willing to make some really tough votes. So with that, we ended our first session, didn't get a lot accomplished that we wanted. We knew that there were a lot of hostile educators that were going to be storming the Capitol if we did not figure out a way to give more funding to teachers and education. And so we ended up with 2 special sessions after my first session. So I knew no different than, let's have, most of the time you have a session, then you get to go work in your district and you get to do interim studies and you get to focus on what your next goals are going to be. We were underwater. We had to, just keep beating the pavement, so to speak, trying to figure out how we were going to overcome this budget deficit. We ended up, fortunately, people felt like we had to invest in Oklahoma, and so we did a budget package that was able to secure some funding for educators, to secure our budget. And we did that, and then about a week later, after we were able to pass our budget, the teacher walkout happened. And that went on for 2 weeks. It was unlike anything I had ever experienced because I came from a world of educators, and I felt like, I understand you, I'm on your side, and they didn't quite see me like that. The roles had switched, and I talked to a superintendent that said, once you leave the classroom and you go into a leadership role, they don't view you as one of them anymore. And that was probably the most heartbreaking part of that. But we got through that for 2 weeks. the legislators that I serve with, we just pretty much linked arms and we worked through it, and we were able to get out of there, and things really settled down. We get a new governor. He came in, he had a plan that, he wants to make our state top 10. He changes the way that things have been done historically. We have been very pleased with that. I will tell you that the atmosphere at the Capitol has changed. Before, where everything was very tense, he has come in and he has tried to make it an area of comfort to where, he'll just walk into your office and he knows who you are. Hello, Rhonda, how are you today? And he'll sit down and talk with you, and what do you think we can do? So he really does try to hear from all of us, and we appreciate that. Now, one of the things that I do want to talk about, because last session we did have a surplus of funds, which was fantastic. We hadn't had that in so many years. We were able to return $30 million to our County Improvements for Roads and Bridges Fund to support our county commissioners. We borrowed from this fund for so many years when we experienced a budget deficit, so we felt that it was very important that we pay it back. And I will tell you that it is important to us, and it is a goal that we continue to support our county commissioners and what you all do for us. Additionally, let me go ahead and talk about this. We were able to pass the largest budget in state history last year. So it was an $8.1 billion budget that increased funding for many of our core government services that truly had been cut down to the bone. Last year was very, very interesting as well. We had a record number of new lawmakers in both the House and the Senate. So in the House, we had 56 new freshmen that were elected. One of them is Representative Lonnie Sims, that's going to be speaking here in just a moment. The excitement from the new voices that are there and the new ideas has been so fantastic for me to experience. When I came in, I thought, I've got a new voice, I've got experiences I can give, and truly we were so under the gun all the time that I felt like, it's just like we're paddling water. We were trying to figure out how we're going to overcome. But with these new lawmakers and what we experienced last year, it was kind of like we could see over the horizon. We truly can do some great things for Oklahoma. We now are in a position to, and those new lawmakers have been very, very helpful. So we had a record number of bills that were filed. There were 1,733 House bills, if you can imagine that. There were over 1,000 in the Senate. Now, only 517 bills were actually sent into law that the governor signed. So you can see there's a lot of work that we have to do to get through all of those bills, but very, very interesting. Now, last thing I want to say, and this is really important, we saved money in this budget. And after being in a situation where we had such a huge budget deficit, that was what the governor said, regardless of what we do, we're putting money back. And so we were able to put $200 million back into a state savings account, which is prudent when we are so reliant upon oil and gas, and we already know that things are not going to be as rosy for us this year. We're not going to have as much money as we've had before. So we're thankful that we were able to do that. I do just want to say thank you to you all in the counties for what you all do for our district. I will tell you, as I'm looking around, I see people in cowboy hats and ball caps and jeans and boots, and I think, well, golly, if I'd known that, Jean, I would have worn mine, because I am an ag girl, and my daughters were in FFA, and I will tell you that the county commissioners, they were always so supportive of our ag programs, and that helped my daughters to get scholarships in that. So thank you for what you all do to give back to the communities. And I want you to know that you do have a lot of fans up in the legislature, me being one. I know Lonnie's another. We are here to serve you. If you feel that there is anything that we need to know on your behalf, please reach out to us. And thank you again for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Representative Baker. Our next speaker, and we can almost get emotional about this one. If there was ever an advocate for county government, if there was ever a rock star for county government, if there was ever any doubt of a commitment from county government, this lady stood up for county government as tall as anybody we've ever had in elected office. For many of you that may or may not know, we had a Senate hearing approximately a week ago that was held in the Senate chambers for home rule. Now, everybody's heard of home rule, but no one really understood exactly where they were coming from with home rule. We're going to have the video posted on our website because we just received it this week. But the presenters for the side of pro-home rule savage county government. All they did was talk about 40 years ago or 45 years ago about the bad things that happened in the courthouses across the state. They had absolutely no feeling as to what county government does every day for the people that we serve out there. We acquired two presenters on our side, and one of them was our state auditor and inspector, Cindy Byrd. She stood up. She stood up to a past governor. She stood up to a past U.S. attorney who all he could talk about was the people that he sent to prison 40 years ago or 45. And I'm not going to steal any of her thunder, but when they stood up and said, well, it was real demeaning in the fact that one of them said, well, Madam Auditor, we think you do a good job, but. She stood up and said, let me tell you something. I audit entities all across this state. There is not a unit of government more efficient, more transparent, and more accountable than county government and the county courthouses. It took courage to do that. And courage counts in what we do every day out there as elected official. So let's give Cindy Byrd the warmest welcome we've ever given anybody, and welcome her to our conference today.
That was pretty sweet, and I appreciate that very much. And I will talk a little bit about that. I want to tell you first, thank you. Thank you to Jean for always inviting me, for letting me be a part of your conferences to bring to you anything that's going on, anything that we need to change. I always want to recognize the people who work with me, Cheryl Wilson and Nancy Grantham. I can't see where they are. They're hiding somewhere. Oh, right here on the front row. Because as you all know, we all come as a team, and I couldn't make it without them. I almost teared up listening to Commissioner Strain whenever he paused for a minute, because he paused and he said, I screwed up. And then everybody in here started singing for him to help him back up, and we all finished as a team. That, my friends, is what makes county government so beautiful. We are here. We are here to get it right together. And the auditor's office is never here to play gotcha. You know, I always emphasize that there's a line of communication that we need to have. We need to always be talking to each other. We can't be right all the time. We do our homework and we do our best, but you still have a voice with us. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, there are many things I'm thankful for today regarding county government. You just completed a budget in your counties, and poor Nancy has had to go through all of these budgets all across the state, has worked so much overtime it's not even funny. But as 8 elected officials in each county, you came together, you looked at the resources you had, you sat down, you may have had some disagreements initially about where that money was going to go to, but you came to an agreement and you worked it out together, much like we do at home. Whenever we have limited resources, we have to stay on a budget. We work it out and we make it work. County government does that all the time. You're transparent. You just published this budget, or you're fixing to, in the newspaper where all of your constituents could see everything that you did. Just like you publish your minutes each month in the newspaper so everyone can see the action taken. You publish your expenditures each month in the newspaper so everyone can see what you're spending their tax dollars on. You publish your official salaries and your employees in the newspaper with names every single year as required by statute. You're very, very accountable to your constituents. There is no other level of government touching the lives of the taxpayers who are paying your bills like county government does. I'm thankful for you. In this time, in this nation, in this state, you're getting it right. But then you have gotten it right for a really long time. You're responsive to open records requests. You know, across the state, a lot of time in the Capitol office is spent dealing with angry citizens across the state. But guess what? They're not angry with county government, they're angry with their cities and towns because they aren't getting that information that I just listed. They don't know what's happening to their tax dollars. But that's not the case in county government. You're modernized. I keep hearing that county government's archaic. It's ancient. We don't need a horse and buggy anymore to ride to a courthouse. There are too many counties. Well, there are that many counties in every state. Go out and count them and take a look. But more importantly, and I want to bring up Dr. Nody Lansford and everything that our office and OSU has worked with this chart of accounts that has had some of you gnashing your teeth. I brag on you for this because, again, this is something that is so good that Nody and his group was able to present it at a national level. It's accountability that's not common in government. So congratulations to you. I'm thankful for you for the steps you take to always be transparent, accountable, and modernized. And I know you've heard me say these things before. I said these things at one of the last ACCO meetings that Gene invited me to. I said them at the interim study. There's a reason. I want you to get them here. I want you to be able to talk about what you do. I love working with Governor Stitt, and I love his idea of a top 10 state, but I also want to make sure we keep that part of Oklahoma that makes it special. And that part of Oklahoma is best represented by county government and what you do on a daily basis out here, all of the lives you touch in every part of your jobs. I'm thankful that I get to brag on you at Lincoln and 23rd and tell people about these good things you do. I'll always brag on you. I'm probably always going to write you up too because that's my job. But I'll do so kindly. You are not county government of 40 years ago. You are a much stronger, resilient county government. Many strengths to brag on. I pointed out that just under $5 billion runs through county government every year. Not all of that is the money you have to run your county. But county government is a much bigger structure. You're responsible for all of the funds that come through, that go out to your schools and other taxing entities that you take care of. And you safeguard it. You make sure it gets to where it's going. And I have the audits to prove it, to back you up in that manner. So just like with Thanksgiving, we're looking for extra helpings of this accountability, extra helpings of this communication, because right now you've got to shine. You do it right, but you know, it's one of those things, you can do everything right all day long, and if you do one thing wrong, what are you going to get remembered for? Well, we're all human. That's where the communication comes in. Don't ever skimp on the communication with your constituents, and especially with your senators and representatives, to let them know what you're doing. Many things are solved with communication, and sometimes those conversations aren't easy. I have a lot of angry people that come to my office, and I hate that we're right there by the front door. You know, they just can zip in, and they see the auditor, and like, I have something to gripe about, I'll go in there. But that's okay, because they pay my salary and the salary of my employees. It's an open office. The only other office I really know that does that is county government. You're there for your constituents. County government's successful because of your structure, and I want to talk about that for just a minute. Because even though, and keep in mind, for those of you who are new county officials, I've worked in county government for 22 years. I started out as one of those pesky auditors that walk around and ask you questions about what you're doing like they have no idea and they've never been introduced to county government. That's where I started. Back then, you could have said boo and I would have ran. It was very different. County government was not like anything they had ever taught me in college to audit. So I had to learn. And there were some really good people in county government, a lot of them retired now, who took me under their wing and taught me all of the history and the importance. So as I grew up in county government, I saw all the strengths. I saw the county officials who couldn't get along, and let's face it, it's like family, you know, just like Thanksgiving. You can come to the table and you're all happy to be there, and about 5 minutes later, you've had enough. So as you're coming together right now, keep in mind you are all one team. And I've tried to stress this before, you are all one team. It's not about one commissioner, it's not about one county clerk, it's not about one county assessor. You are the team in your county. You are what's representing your county to everyone out there. And you do this great. When push comes to shove, you solve things, you get things done. But again, back to that one thing that can make you look bad that people remember. Keep that in mind. Understand you're one unit. And I want to go through these offices of county government because even though you might be a commissioner and you don't know much about the county assessor, you're on the same team. And you got to understand what they're doing to help you out with your position. So with our county assessors, they're out here valuing property. That's where your tax dollars to run county government start. Your county assessors are out here valuing property. You know, they make some people mad because, let's face it, none of us like to pay taxes. And we really don't like it when our tax bill goes up. Have anybody got a tax bill yet this year? I know there are some overachievers in the county treasurers that are sending out their tax statements. The thing about county assessors and it being an office by itself, not appointed, is the fact that a county assessor is tasked with valuing this property. But the founders of this state realized that the assessor had no business telling you how much tax you were to pay and also collecting it from you. That's why we have a county treasurer. County treasurer's tasked with receiving all of these funds, and then they're also tasked with whoever doesn't pay their taxes, they've got to start the delinquent property collections process. But even though a county treasurer is tasked with collecting money, again, she can't spend it or he can't spend it. It has to go over here to our county clerk. That's where the transactions happen for spending money. And then we have this Board of County Commissioners who has to approve every expenditure. I say this to you not because you don't know these things, but do you know how many people I talk to weekly who don't know what you're doing? You have got to emphasize the different practices that each official is tasked with, the things that make county government important, the things that make it the strongest structure of government in the state of Oklahoma right now. Ladies and gentlemen, you've got to be able to talk this just like I do, right now more than ever. You have got to reach out to your legislators, communicate with them what you're doing, what struggles you're facing. I can point to so many examples of what can go wrong when too much authority is put in one person's hands. I have 35 investigative audits on a list right now trying to get to. Those aren't counties. Those are cities and towns or other similar structures. County government is segregated. That's what makes it important. No one person can execute a transaction from beginning to end. Legislators have been very kind to me in my first 9 or 10 months in office. In fact, Representative Rhonda Baker was one of my favorite. I met her on the campaign trail, and she has been so kind to me. She even came to my office to listen to some of my concerns. Representative Fettgatter was supposed to be here today. I'm not sure what came up, but he has also been very kind to me. Representative Sims has ties to, and you all know I'm from Colgate, and I really love my county. Cole County is very important to me. I'm a rural girl and always will be, and he has ties to Cole County. These people like to hear from you. They want to hear about your concerns. They need to hear about your concerns with anything that's going on with county government. I said this at the last ACCO meeting, and I mean it. If you don't know your senator and your representative on a first-name basis, shame on you. Get out here, meet them, tell them what you're doing, talk to them about the issues that are going on in county government. My door is always open, and I regret that my customer service is not as good as it once was. I suddenly have this huge workload, and it seems to follow me around. I'm never going to dig myself out of this mountain of work I have, but I love every minute of it. But please continue to reach out. You know, Cheryl and Nancy and I will work on these things. We will help you as much as we can. And in closing, on the campaign trail, I always forgot to talk about this one special person in my life. I would get up, and you all know I'm not the best public speaker, but I would get up and I would state the facts, business, and then get off the stage, you know. I always forgot to introduce my husband. He's here with me today, and many of you know him, and if you have a chance, say hi to him. And do me a personal favor, too. If you happen to see him after this, I want you to go up to him and ask him, how does it feel to be outfished by a girl last month in Rockport, Texas? I do want to say thank you very much for your time. Anytime during this next legislative session that you need something or that you need to find offices in the Capitol, anything that I can help you with, my door is open. I hope each one of you have a blessed, happy Thanksgiving.
Well, Mr. Byrd, I've got one word of warning for you. After watching her the other day at the Capitol, in a man's world, if that had been a prize fight, they'd have stopped it in the second round. So, word of wise should suffice. We are so pleased to have Cindy as our state auditor inspector. She is a true advocate for counties and a blessing for our state. So, when you see her, thank her and hug her.
Gene, we thought he was a big fisherman. That's what he's always told us.
Has he really? Well, you know how fishermen talk.
She just told me she fished out of the back of the boat when she done that, too.
Well, boat anchors are real handy sometimes. But on our program, we've got one little change in the sense that Representative Scott Fettgatter from Omogie County called. He's a real tough Marine, but he blew his knee out this morning. So he called and he really tried hard to get here, but he couldn't. But we've got a new and better and improved Scott Fettgatter, who met with us earlier with Farm Bureau. And the one thing that we're seeing with especially our new legislators that are visiting out the Capitol, they are consumed with trying to find ways to help county government, to help us be more efficient and to have more money to spend. And so, I mean, it really is encouraging for those of us that have the advantage of going to the Capitol and talking to them about different ideas. It's kind of refreshing now. They're bringing ideas to us about, hey, would this help you if we did it? So our next speaker is Representative Lonnie Sims. He represents District 68, which includes Creek and Tulsa counties. He's extremely important to us at the Capitol also. He's on the County and Municipal Government Committee, and he's on the Subcommittee on Appropriation on Transportation. So he gets about as important to us as anybody that we can have at a conference. He's new, he's got great ideas, he's articulate, he's representing his district well, and all we're getting is just great reports from back in his counties. So if you will, let's give a warm welcome to Representative Lonnie Sims.
Appreciate it. Well, I'll tell you what, Gene, now I know why Scott didn't show up. I mean, that's a pretty tough lineup to follow, and I appreciate Gene setting up the afternoon lunch with the Farm Bureau and people that sit down just interested about the state legislators and what we can do for you. Give you a little history. ACCO has a monthly and weekly during the legislative session, they have a breakfast. And, you know, I had to audit my, Auditor Byrd will appreciate this, I had to audit my ethics report, and I think I had about 20 breakfast receipts for about $6.50. So I'll tell you what, I felt really impressed. You have the opportunity to go eat all these steak dinners, but here I am eating the best breakfast at the State House at ACCO. So if you missed that, you're missing a great breakfast, and I've dropped a few pounds, so I'm kind of ready to get back in so I can eat some more, tell the truth. When it comes to county government, I would just expand on what Auditor Byrd said. I think we're family. And to give you a little bit of my background, I spent 6 years on the Planning Commission in Jinx, Oklahoma, was on the City Council for 8, was mayor there for 2, and just kind of made the step last year up. We had a 12-year term limit on our representative who had done an outstanding job, who's now our state insurance commissioner, and felt like it was an opportunity for me to step up and bring experience to that position, because it's critical to what you do, it's critical to what the municipalities do, to have people that understand the issues you face and the adversity you face out there. I grew up in southeastern Oklahoma, a little town called Allen, graduated with 35, and like to say I can speak both languages, big city and small town, and I hope that's helpful when it comes to the County Municipal Government Committee, which I am the vice chair. We have a super chairman on there as well, who is also a mayor, who understands directly the issues you're dealing with. I think that was critical in the session that we got you your CERB money back for your roads and bridges. It was way overdue, and unfortunate due to previous budget cuts, that money had been taken away from me, so we were very pleased to get that back to you. Just to speak to Representative Fettgetter, who would have been here had he not been intimidated by these great speakers. Scott is very much an economic development advocate for counties, for cities, and probably one of the most important bills he ran this session was to get $5 million added to the Quick Action Closing Fund, which helps our governor make deals to bring jobs to our rural counties and counties throughout Oklahoma, which is critical. And I would say moving forward as a state, at some point we got to start looking forward in what's our vision for small town and rural counties, and that is very much economic development. So if I can help advocate and introduce legislation that's going to help us do that, I'm absolutely going to do it. And that's what's most important to me, is empowering you, our local communities, to be able to control your own destiny. And I'm sure a lot of you heard about, if you're not from northeastern Oklahoma, we have a great group of county commissioners that go out of their way. Commissioner Salee, Deputy Commissioner Craddock, Deputy Commissioner Fothergill, Karen Keith, who's here as well. It was a busy time coming out of session in May We had historic floods throughout northeastern Oklahoma, impacted our counties greatly, whether it came to economics, whether it came to road, safety. So many things impact us. And growing up in Oklahoma, year over year, you see all these different disasters that we have to deal with, whether it be tornadoes, whether it be drought out west, fires out west, floods in the east. Year over year, I am just amazed at the courage of our citizens to step up and fill that gap and that need. But at some point, we've got to be able to empower you and our communities to save ourselves. Because, you know, when it comes down to it, federal government's not going to be there for us in the sense that financially they're not going to be able to provide all the resources that we need to protect ourselves. Same thing for state government. We have too many ups and downs and fluctuations within the budget that we're not always going to be able to build that new road that needs to get built, put in that new levee that needs to be built, put in that dam that needs to be built to protect the homes and homeowners and investments that you make, whether you're in agribusiness, whether you're in manufacturing. These disasters affect all of us. And coming out of an interim study that I commissioned on the Arkansas River flood event of 2019, this will be the primary piece of legislation that I'm very honored to run because I think it benefits all of us. And it empowers our local communities to decide, are there things we can do from hazard mitigation to disaster preparedness to get ready for the next storm? So one, maybe we prevent that house from flooding. Two, maybe we have the response capabilities to save that person before they die or become that next fatality. And more importantly, partner with you, the counties, to elevate some of these roads that are in floodplains. They should have been moved out of them, 50 years ago, but yet they still flood year over year. It's been extremely frustrating to me growing up to see these same bridges flood year over year, and it's almost an annual process. And God bless the chief. One of the presenters at the interim study was with the Cherokee Nation Emergency Response Team. And for not them, a lot of the people getting back and forth between the power generation plant at Fort Gibson wouldn't have been able to get there. They would have actually lost their pumps and their ability to power that station. And so you had exacerbated what already was just a historic disaster. So there's so many things that we can do at the local level and decisions that we can make to save ourselves from the kind of disasters that impact us annually. So I'm very honored to run that piece of legislation. It's been an honor to be here and just looking forward to working with you. I always say I can't speak both languages. I probably represent, 3 or 4 counties. I've got a county commissioner over here in Gary Starnes that I grew up with, known him all my life. I know how hard he works within the community, so I probably pester him about as much as I do my own commissioners back home to see, hey, what's going on with this road over here? I appreciate you guys and what you do. If I can help you, reach out to us. Definitely, Representative Baker made a great point. Get to know your legislators. Sometimes these bills, when you talk about the volume that are coming to the House floor, there's going to be some that slip through the cracks. And it's important for you to know and to have that number. When she says people are checking their phones, a lot of times we're getting messages from constituents that say, hey, this is a bad bill for the county. This is a bad bill for our community. And it informs us from making a bad decision. So appreciate what you do. Stay in touch. Anything I can do to help the commissioners out and our county officials, I'll be happy to do it. And just thank Gene for the opportunity. And Scott Fettgetter owes me a steak dinner. Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to take another little variation. We have an election that we're going to do during this meeting. So we're going to take a minute, and I'll get Ray Shimonik from Kingfisher County. You want to come up? He's going to tell us how we're going to do it, and we're going to start now, and then we'll skip on down as soon as we get the ballots passed out.
Good afternoon, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ray Shimonic. I'm a Kingfisher County Commissioner, and I'm the election chairman this year. For our president and vice president, we've only had one person interested in the job, and so we get off easy. We don't have to select anybody. I guess those are filled, so we don't have to vote on them. I'd like to congratulate Jimmy Westbrook as being chosen the next president, and Russell Earls will be our vice president. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you serving for us. We had 2 candidates for the secretary-treasurer, and each candidate will be able to speak to us today for like 3 minutes. They can kind of get their points across. And after they're finished, we'll pass out the ballots to all the commissioners. You'll have to have your name badge, show them. We'll stand up when they get done speaking, and we'll vote and go tally up the votes, and we'll find out the outcome of that pretty quick. So we'll put it in alphabetical order. The first one that'll talk to us today will be Zach Cavett from Payne County.
Make sure they hold up their badge so they can give them a ballot.
You bet, you bet.
We know it's commissioners on it.
I just want to introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. I'm Zach Cavett, represent Payne County. Started for Payne County in 1998 and was elected to be a commissioner in 2012. If you don't know where Payne County is, that's cowboy country, home of OSU, Stillwater, and the pipelines crossroads of the world, Cushing. Pokes. All right, I currently serve as the CED5 president, and I serve on the ACCO board. And I just wanted to say, is there anybody here that has served in our armed forces? Please stand. Nobody's served. I want to thank you all, because without you, in my opinion, we don't have to worry about what that plane flying over us is going to drop. So we owe a lot of gratitude to those who have served our country. Anyway, when I say serve, I'm not running for this position for any privilege, because I know that there's 2 sides to every coin. And on the side of the coin is privilege, the other side is responsibility. So with greater privilege comes greater responsibility. I believe that leadership is somebody that leads. Anybody that owns any animals will probably know, but I have a few head of cows, and I have a few leaders in that group of cows. One led all my cows over a barbed wire fence into the county road. The other, when I back my stock trailer up, leads the rest of the cows into the stock trailer. So they're both leaders, one just leading in a direction I don't want them to go. So a leader is one that's going to step out from the crowd, follow their conscience, and do things the way they think they need to be done. Now today, I think we was all probably faced with a decision about where we was going to eat lunch. So if your choices was Texas Roadhouse or Saltgrass, either place you're going to go get a good meal. I believe you have the same thing in this election. Your decision that you'll have to make, either choice you make, you'll end up with a good representative. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess we have the next candidate up here. Is Stephen Wright will come up from Muskogee and talk to us. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank y'all. And first thing I want to do is introduce my wife, Roberta, and glad she's here. And I want to thank Cindy Byrd from the bottom of my heart for what she does. They said she put on an excellent defense for us at the Capitol, so I do appreciate her. Guys, I'm Stephen Wright. I'm from Muskogee County. I also serve on the ACCO board, CED board, and other than that, I'd appreciate your vote, and I'm kind of like Zach. Either choice will be a good choice. So thank y'all very much.
Well, everybody, this will be pretty simple now. If all the commissioners will stand up, make sure you have your badge. We'll give you all a ballot. Cast it for who you feel to do it. We'll go count it, and I'll be back to let you all know. And in front, one thing I would like to say too, I would also like to thank Cindy Byrd. We're really lucky to have her.
Just wait till the end. For adjustments.
Mr. President, did you request those lights to be turned up?
No.
Those two lights?
Doug,
Where's our?
while we're passing the ballots out, let's introduce Jimmy Westbrook. And then introduce Earl, and you can both of you can get up and say,
Yeah, well, he's not here to announce it. Okay, we're going to let the candidates that have already been elected come up and introduce themselves. You all probably know them, but they'll get another chance to say hi to you. Jimmy Westbrook, he'll be the next president of ACCO. Would you step up, Jimmy?
Thank y'all. Thank y'all. It's a privilege and an honor to be here today and to be your next president coming in January. It's been an honor to serve with these guys here, and Doug's done us a great job. I want to give him a hand of applause, if you will. You know, Oklahoma is so diverse from one end of this state to the other. We're from southeast Oklahoma in McCurtain County. My friend Jack Strange's out there from Texas County. We average about 50 to 70 inches of rain, and if he gets 5 or 7, he thinks he got it bad. Now, I promised him one time, I said, Jack, there's 2 things that I'll promise you, and I don't make many promises, but I'll never see a windmill in McCurtain County, and you'll never see a log truck in Texas County. Well, I'm going to have to back up on that, because we got windmills you can see from McCurtain County. Now, they're in Pushpa County, but they're coming. And I'm telling you, it's a beast all I've ever seen, the things that are happening and changing in our part of the world. And it's all because of the economic development we have going on in our county. And I'd like to take this opportunity to invite you down to come look at the lake, rent a cabin, and spend a little money in McCurtain County if you would. Thank you very much.
Jimmy's kind of shy. He don't talk a whole lot. But Russell Earls, he's about the same. He's real shy too. So Russell, would you step up and say thanks?
You bet. As always, my path forward is one of thanks. I want to thank Doug Hubbard. He's been an excellent leader for the past 2 years. Jimmy Westbrook, he will make an excellent leader as well, and I'm honored to be your vice president. Also want to publicly thank Cindy Byrd. She is a rock star for county government. and my new hero, Jack Strain. Thank you all, and I hope you enjoy the conference.
Well, we got them all collected, so they'll do some counting now. I hope they use their fingers and toes, so. All right. Bill Case, he's our legislative liaison. Is he here still? Yeah. Bill, you got any words of wisdom for us?
Thank you, Mr. President, Board. Good afternoon, folks. I'm going to be brief. We had some dynamite speakers here today, and I'd like to thank them, legislators, for coming today. They're doing a very good job. They're both new at the Capitol, so they have contributed greatly, and I think that thank you, Director Wallace, for inviting them. I think you made some good choices. And I have to also speak out on behalf of recognizing State Auditor Cindy Byrd. I know we've heard her name several times in the last 10 minutes, but I was there at the Senate study, and she did a fantastic job for the entire room. And everyone that was present at that meeting knew exactly what county government, how it works, and what goes on. She did a great explanation in the short time that she had. And I have to say that the ACCO, Director Wallace put together the ACCO presenters, and he did a wonderful job with that. We brought substance to the study, and they brought the past, which has nothing to do with what you guys do today. So, Director Wallace, appreciate all your leadership. You did really well at the study. I'm going to be brief. There's not a lot going on at the Capitol. Construction, you really don't want to be in this building. It's nothing but jackhammers. Next session, from what I understand, which opens February the 3rd, the second floor rotunda will be open, and that's it. The 1st, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, they'll all be closed off. So still under construction. The legislative offices, I think, will be open, House and Senate. So, but it's still going to be a building under construction. So it's going to be interesting how session comes out, and I hope it's brief next session. So it's, but what's going on right now is that the legislature passed a number of bills last year, and the governor signed approximately 300 plus bills into law. And this November 1st, over 300 bills went into effect. And as far as bills that ACCO was tracking on your behalf, there was 24 new laws that I tracked that directly impact your life. There's probably about 50 of them that or 60, I guess, that were out there, but 24 were signed into law. And so I sent that to the ACCO staff to disseminate to you as county commissioners, so you could see those new changes for your counties. As far as studies go, that's what's going on at the Capitol right now in our interim studies. One issue is they're talking about county commissioners quite a bit, matter of fact. One issue has to do with rural health care, which we all have a stake in that, and creating a hospital district. And there'll be more to come on that, but that's just giving you a little piece of what they're talking about. The Board of County Commissioners would be involved in creating this hospital district, so just making you aware of that. The other issue is a hazard mitigation district. The Board of County Commissioners would be responsible for creating a hazard mitigation district as well. There's legislation that is going to be filed on that for sure, so those are two bills that are going to be coming out there this next session. And of course, our county home rule. Trying to read the tea leaves on that, that's my job to do that. It's interesting because they really don't have a concept of what you do, but they want to change it. And typically change comes from within, or the people, local government, somebody, some group comes forward and decides they want to make some changes. Well, this is not the fact, this is not the case in our state. Now, it was mentioned that there's like 30 states out there, or 30 plus states that have some version of county home rule. And there are. And my research that I did on it, I have found that local government was created differently in Oklahoma than it was in those states in most cases. Not all the cases, but in most cases. And where the state pretty much governed local. And the cities and the counties were sick of it. So they came forward with support from the local community to say, listen, we want to change how we're governed. And that's how most of that happens. In Oklahoma, we were never set up that way. Local government, the people wanted to say and how you're governed. And that's what we have. So I just don't see a groundswell of support for this. But who files a bill, or when someone files a bill and they want to have a study and they get a study done and they get these things in place, surely there's going to be legislation filed. So we think there will be a bill filed on this. So with that said, I don't know where it goes. It may not even get a hearing, but filing a bill is very easy to do, and that may happen. But I just want to share with you that there is and you probably already know this, but there is a phone app out there. That's the Association of, what is it, the OAEC, Oklahoma Association of Electric Cooperatives. Get your mobile device, get that phone app. It's called AOEC 57. Put that on your phone. Make a point to reach out and get to know, if you would, as county officers, get to know about 5 legislators. Get to know them well. This app will identify who they are and where they live, and you'll be able to contact them, but reach out, and I challenge you, get to know 5 of them. Not a big deal. And that way, during session, this next session, you can feel comfortable about reaching out to these legislators and let them know how you feel about county home rule, if in fact we have this issue, or any other legislation that you as county and the ACCO as the association represents and presents your position out there. So that's my challenge to you. Mr. President, enjoyed serving with you for your 2 years, and look forward to the new president. And with that, I'll be around the conference. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
All right, we have a wonderful partner with OSU and their LTAP program. And Nody, are you here? Would you like to give out your awards?
Will.
This is Nody Lansford.
And Cindy's going to help present them, but I've got 6 slides first.
Nody, you need a hand mic?
I'm going to come up there.
You can use my mic, but don't think you forget what you have.
No thanks, Jack.
Got some messages. You only just turned it on, Sharon.
Jack was offering the mic that makes you forget what you have to say, so I think I'll pass on that. So, CJ, you're going to put my slide up there. We got a few slides to show real quickly. I represent the OSU County Training Program, and Our LTAP partners are actually going to take the photographs today. Thank you, Rita, for doing that in a minute. And we're here to celebrate 5 deserving people who have completed a lot of educational material and provide them with some certificates. But first of all, I want to show you, well, what are we talking about? For those of you who may not be familiar, what are these certificates about? So we have got, for all the different county officers, a program, and we worked this out with ACCO years ago, and you can see there in the yellow column the hours for county commissioners, basic and first deputies, and it's 42 hours of required classes, 21 hours of discretionary classes, and I'm going to show you something about discretionary classes in just a minute that you're going to like. But we think these are classes that everybody can benefit from, and we worked this out with a group of county commissioners actually that serve on our advisory board. We also, in addition to the basic certificate, we've got an advanced 1 and an advanced 2 certificate. And what you're going to see today is some people who have completed those certificates. And advanced 1, 48 hours, 18 of which are discretionary. And advanced 2, you can see there is a total of 36 hours, and 12 of those are discretionary. Now you might say, what's discretionary? Well, that's in the big print there, right? You already probably read it. The LTAP program courses, the Rhodes Scholar courses, our courses that aren't part of the required courses, ACCO, and we need to work this out, Gene, how to get credit for things like what you do at these conferences, for discretionary hours, how to tally that. SANI's workshops, anything that's credible training, we're going to count towards certificates, because we want to see you get certificates and put those on your wall. Now, one reason I'm stressing this is because we actually have, let's see, I got the wrong way maybe, or I went too far. Well, I'm going to the slide. I'm sorry, I tried to skip one. This is our website. If you don't know how to get there, haven't been there before, just county training program, OSU will probably get you to this site, and over on the left-hand side is where you have the sign-up page under training, and there's some contact information. Most of the people today, or all the people today that are getting certificates, are actually doing it as a second deputy or a third deputy or some other title, commissioner assistant, and those programs are lesser hours, easier to get, and you've got the basics of those right there. I'm not going to go through that, but these are all critical classes that are very helpful to county commissioners. A lot of you county commissioners send your people to more than just these because of the value that's in them. So we hope you'll take advantage of those as time goes on. And I realized, Gene and board members, that one of the reasons I don't have any commissioners getting certificates today is that I've been remiss in getting one of the basic classes put together that's now required. And so I'm going to have a big advertisement here at the end about that class, and you're going to like it, I think. So there is a law that says that you're supposed to take the training. It doesn't say anything happens to you if you don't take the training, but it says you shall attend. So we hope you will take advantage of it and get some of these nice certificates, get your picture taken, get a news release sent to your county, all of which we're going to do when you complete your training. All right, so now finally I'm ready for the awards. Cindy, if you would come up, I'd appreciate it. And we've got these in kind of a random order for once. And we got a little background music that I hope will play along with these. So, first of all, Eddie Barkley. Eddie's a district superintendent, District 1 in Tulsa County. He's finishing up his final certificate as Advanced 2. He had a lot of nice things to say there about training he's done with LTAP and with us and our program. And the things that the county's allowed for him to do over time. And I want you to see all the stuff on the board here on the screen that Eddie has taken. He actually gets the award today for the most hours of anybody that's been through here today. 303 hours of classes. So give him another hand. I guess he just likes to go to school. So next is April Leslie, Noble County. Administrative assistant, relatively new to county government, just since 2015, but she has faithfully been coming to classes. She has gotten her basic and advanced 1 in 2016, and now her advanced 2 in 2019. Whoops. Those have a big slot on the side, so be careful. April has taken 136 and a half hours, not all of which are up there, and she's enrolled in 2 more classes that are coming up. Brenda Ashbrenner, Wagner County. And Brenda actually is getting 2 certificates. That next one will be there too. She's getting her Advanced 1 and Advanced 2 certification. And Brenda, your commissioner told me that you would probably want to give an acceptance speech. She said you just would be thrilled to do public speaking. No kidding. But she's been in county government for 22 and a half years. She'd get an award just for doing that. We appreciate her. She has gotten a basic certificate as a commissioner's program and a basic certificate as a county clerk. A total of 227 hours of classes. And by the way, we don't have them up here, but if you go to CalPro classes, if you go to SANI workshops, IRS workshops, those are all credit hour classes. Next is Jackie Taylor, Rogers County. Jackie is getting her Advanced 1 and 2. Again, Cindy, she's going to get 2 of them. You got them? All right. Great. Thank you. She's commissioner's assistant there. After 24 years in banking, she changed jobs and is loving her job with Steve Hendricks and others there in Rogers County. She got her basic 2 years ago and has completed a total of 149 and a half hours of classwork. Yeah, give her another hand. And last but not least, Julie Swainer, Beckham County. Julie, come on up. Julie's commissioner's secretary is getting her Advanced 2 certification, so she's finishing up the top level. She is proud of her high school senior. She's loving her job, it says, and we appreciate her being involved in the program. She got her basic and advanced in 2009 and has also taken a lot of classes. We showed up on the screen here, total of 250 credit hours. All right, so give everybody a hand, please, one more time. The last slide is my advertisement. On December the 10th, we're going to have the course called Commissioner Duties Review. It's a required course now for basic, whether you're a deputy or a commissioner. It's going to be at the ACCO building from 9 to 4. It's going to cover 6 chapters of the County Commissioner Handbook. And here's the best news. The speakers are going to be county commissioners and then Randy Robinson. All right, so you're going to hear it right from the horse's mouth, and I hope that you'll sign up. We got as much room as the ACCO ballroom will hold, and hope to see a lot of folks there. So thank you very much. I appreciate the chance to be here and present these certificates. Have a good day.
We want to reinforce, we're hearing more and more from the legislators is as we're visiting at the Capitol about more accountability. And these education courses are so vital to our image out at the Capitol. We do receive the travel, and part of the travel, as identified initially when they gave it to us, was for extended education for our commissioners and their employees throughout the counties. And in order to keep trust with the legislature, we had 2 major meetings in the last couple of weeks. They wanted to see what courses were actually being provided down to how many people were actually attending them. And I know I felt when I was a commissioner, the fact that I did get the travel allowance, that I had an obligation to get as much extended education as I possibly could. I know it's time consuming, but we're working with Shannon and we're working with Nody, the 2 programs, in order to condense them, to be able to make them more accessible by having a few more of them in our conferences, where that way you can actually kill 2 birds with 1 stone. The operating boards of ACCO give their time and talent to come and to steer this operation to the point where it's the best advantage for the county. And it is so encouraging to see people who are willing to do that and give up countless hours from their family and their job to just be here. So if you would, I'd like for you to give a round of applause for our operating boards of ACCO. They just do a terrific job for you. We talked about the strategy that we took at the Senate hearing, and the strategy we took, we didn't want to leave the image with the legislators that we were out there just defending our jobs or what we thought was important to us. So we went out and acquired the best presentations we possibly could get, of which Cindy has been given tremendous accolades, and I mean, she was amazing. In conjunction with her, we had a constitutional attorney from the University of Oklahoma. In fact, he was the only attorney from the OU to win a case before the United States Supreme Court. You can go online and Google Rick Tepker and get a flavor of what kind of presentation that he actually gave to the legislature. And he added substance to the debate that no one in the room could deny. And he had studied home rule, he had studied county government, and he was a tremendous spokesman for us. And we're extremely grateful for Jacob McHughes out of Cleveland County, because it was his father-in-law. And I just don't think we could have selected, out of 300 million people in the United States, 2 better people to represent county government in a professional, informed manner than what we had. We were all proud to have been there. Again, when we have these conferences, they're a great time to get together and to talk about what one another's doing on one side of the state or what's doing on the other, what works, what doesn't. And a tremendous amount of education in that. But the breakout sessions and the speakers that we try to bring to our conferences have one goal on behalf of what the board has dictated. And that's, by learning more, we learn to lead more back in our counties. As the constitutional attorney was putting his presentation together, it became obvious that when you look at a state like the state of Oklahoma, which is primarily rural, we had a presentation this morning. It seemed like a large state, but when you divide all the people up and divide all acres up, there's 54.6 people per mile in the state of Oklahoma. So we're extremely rural as far as an identity is concerned out there. It was also quoted this morning that out of 33 counties out of 77 counties have less population today than they had in 1907, and which indicates the change in what we're seeing in our state. Our economic engines has always been soil, oil, and toil. And the population loss we're seeing west of I-35 versus the east of I-35 is remarkable. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have speakers that represent the economic growth for the state of Oklahoma with a simple method and message in mind. There are so many tools that you can use throughout this state that maybe you're not utilizing in your counties. And whether you're an elected official or where you have the honor of working for an elected official, keeping our courthouses viable as the trade centers throughout this state should be absolutely priority number one as far as county government is concerned. But we hope that you'll join us at 10 o'clock in the morning, because we've got, I think it's 9 o'clock in the morning when I look back at the schedule, but we've got 4 of the more knowledgeable experts we could find in the state of Oklahoma to provide you the information and the tools on how you can go back to your individual counties and find a way maybe to enhance the economic growth of that county. You know, it's amazing as we travel around the state, every small town has got some sort of ingenuity where someone had an idea that maybe employs 5, 6, 7 people. But with the help of what the counties have got in their toolbox, we might be able to double that or triple that. And the one thing about economic growth, it's always going to be evolutionary. And when we can get broadband and we can get internet connections across this state, you can do business just as easy in the small town of Allen, Oklahoma that the representative talked about as you can in the major cities across this country. And so I think that, you know, the challenge is up to us. When we talk about learning to meet your legislators and learning not only their first name, but they learn your first name. You learn their families' names. You invite them to the courthouse. You have a coffee for the leadership in the courthouse of the morning. Don't be afraid to invite the public in. These legislators, these new ones, are not about yesterday. They're all about tomorrow. And that's where we want to be. We want to be about tomorrow, because that's the job that we were elected and chose to do. You know, many of you know that I quote a lot of people over the years, but one of my favorite quotes was William Jennings Bryan, which was the greatest orator that we ever had in the United States if you read his speeches. And he gave a real famous cross of gold speech in which he stated, "You let the cities die in America and they will grow back or spring back as if by magic. You let our rural areas die and grass will grow in every city in this country." Oklahoma enjoys the position of being number 5 in the production of wheat in the United States. They enjoy the position of being number 5 in beef production in this state. So we got strong roots here, we got strong people here, and William Jennings Bryan was absolutely right. It's imperative that we save rural America and save rural Oklahoma. You know, when I was elected commissioner in Muskogee County several years ago, I reflected on I thought of what it did, and first of all, it was a great honor. But to be able to serve the people of my county and to go out and do things that they didn't necessarily want to do themselves was a tremendous opportunity. But as an elected official of a county or working for an elected official, to be able to preserve that for the next 100 years in this state is a tremendous obligation. And that's what this association's all about. That's why these people donate their times. That's the reason you make the commitment that you do out there. So when you leave here today or tomorrow, and we really want you to enjoy what we're going to do tomorrow with economic growth. And in our afternoon session, Homeland Security is going to come in, and they have a concern, believe it or not, about the sanctity of our elections in the state of Oklahoma, which was a total new revelation as far as we're concerned. So they're here. They're to teach us, and we're to learn. 99% of all of our elected officials and our employees do a great job. We got a few that don't, and it's just the way it is. And we're getting a lot of feedback from legislators, especially with bad weather. But we're standing up and we got your back. And as long as we got your back, and as long as people like Cindy Byrd's got our back, we will still preserve that obligation that this is still the best, most accountable and transparent government that this state's ever seen. So thank you all for being here. Do we know whether we have the ballots counted? Are we ready for the report? All right, bring them on up. You know, we probably in my history have not had better choices than Zach Gabbett and Steve Wright. And that's what you said, is that correct? Okay. We thank Ray, we thank the committee for doing this.